Have you ever really looked at why you do the things you do, the intentions behind your actions? Have you ever really looked at, am I doing this out of fear? Am I doing this because I would feel guilty otherwise? Am I doing this because there's a reward for me at the end? Really looking at your intentions is a process that can really serve you. And when you know how to change your intention, say you are doing something out of fear, the process of flipping that and doing it out of love instead, and having it come from a place with true intention and purity, it takes all the fear out of it. It takes all the control out of it. It's your choice, your actions.
In any relationship, there's a certain amount of giving and a certain amount of taking. So when we do something, it costs us something, right? Obviously, when we purchase items, that's a give and take, and there's a cost.
Right. We give our money, we take home the
Mhm.
product.
But the same is true in almost everything else. If I give a lot of time to exercise, then I get a benefit from that. If I give a lot of time to study, then I get the reward of that. Sometimes, however, when we focus on the wrong things, then we're giving and getting back something negative. So it's important to look at some of those psychological underpinnings of give and take. Attachment styles is kind of a term being thrown around in the psychological world right now. When we talk about attachment styles, I'm meaning there's secure attachment, and then there's anxious attachment, and then there's avoidant attachment.
And disorganized. We can slip in and out. We're not locked into just one of those. Is that maybe what the disorganized means?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We can jump around. Yeah. I can avoid my husband and then all of a sudden I'm lonely and I'm super clingy. He's like, "What?"
Come here, come here, come here. Go away, go away,
Wait,
go
go
away.
away. Oh,
Come here, come here, come here, come here. Go away, go away.
I
Wait, why aren't you here?
thought I said, "Come here."
If you loved me,
Right? Another thing that influences it is love languages. We've heard of that one as well, right? These are all just ways to help us identify different styles of communicating and connecting, communicating our emotional needs.
I wonder if a lot of these things aren't a band-aid. The attachment styles and the love languages, when in reality, we just need to drop our defenses and be safe to just say exactly what we need. In my relationship with my husband, especially, but I'll do this with one of my daughters. Ooh, the one that's most like him. There you go. I will worry of how it's going to be received. And so then I'm anxious. I don't feel safe to just say it. So then I'm filtering my words and I'm doing all this mental, oh, should I use this word? Should I use that word? Is it okay to say this? How should I phrase this? What should my face look like? How should I be standing? Do I have enough makeup on? Not that bad, but but you get the point.
So what made you worried about the way it was going to be received?
How it's been received in the past.
If you're in a relationship where there's a certain amount of a terminology we use is parenting, you're in a parent-child relationship. I think most of us understand that definition. It's when someone else decides that they know better than you and they want to direct you or help you and nurture you. It can even be done from a place of love.
Oh, I know how to fix your problem. I'll jump in and help you. I'll teach you. You can develop a parent-child relationship from the other angle, where the person's like, okay, teach me. Okay, help me. Okay, make my decisions. I've seen relationships like that where the expectation is, oh, I need you to make my decisions for me.
I'm afraid to mess it up, so I'll just play the child.
Some people weaponize it, and you make the choice, and then if it's wrong, I can blame you.
So what I want people to see is that there can be positive and loving reasons instead of these negative reasons.
Positive and loving reasons for what? For giving?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for taking?
Receiving. Mm-hmm. what happens when you actually ask yourself, am I giving from a place of love? Or am I
Okay.
giving in resentment? Am I
Or
receiving?
obligation.
Am I
Or
receiving out of greed and need and hunger? Or am I receiving with respect and appreciation?
gratitude. Yeah.
You see the difference?
Yes.
The reason why we give truly, truly matters.
And the reason we receive truly matters.
It's hard to step back and see it. It takes a lot of honesty and vulnerability. So sometimes we give for the sake of the relationship versus
Okay.
I'm going to give with an expectation of getting.
Well, and we call that transactional because if I give to you expecting something in return, then that's transaction. That's not true connection or love or relationship, a healthy relationship.
And it's not healthy for the giver. It's not healthy for the
Right.
receiver. Instead of looking at your relationships as they need to fix this, they need to, they need to, need to, you have no control over that. The only thing you can do is look at your feelings, your emotions, the reasons you give. And what happens, Gina, when we start to give from a place of love in a relationship?
First of all, I think that we develop a sense of peace and safety.
How?
So let's say I give in love, and that's misunderstood. Happens, right? And it's not received well. Well, if I gave out of resentment and it's not received well, that I'm triggered all over the place. Because deep inside, I have this element of, well, maybe it wasn't received well because I gave out of resentment. Even if I'm not consciously thinking that, there's this background subconscious awareness that I gave out of resentment. Whereas if it's not received and I gave out of true motivation, then the defensiveness is not there. And I can say, oh, you know what? I can be calm and say, hey, I think you might be misinterpreting my motives. And now we can have a conversation about it. And that is a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship isn't void of miscommunication.
Mm-mm.
A healthy relationship doesn't mean you agree with me all the time. A healthy relationship is when we can talk about it without the explosive negative emotions, the anger or the shame or the blame or there's a whole list, right? The comparison, all of that. So if I give out a place of love, it puts me on firm ground, regardless of the reaction, whether it's received well or not received well. Because I know my footing is sure, and now I can feel whatever happens.
And I can't emphasize that enough. You know your intentions. There's
Yeah.
going to be misunderstandings. There's going to be assumptions. There's going to be expectations that you don't meet. There's going to be expectations that are never said. And all of,
And wait, before you go on,
uh-huh.
and that's okay.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. And all of that is just unavoidable. I gave a performance that was really important to me. I sang in a church setting, and I was very nervous. And I just assumed that my husband would be there. Just duh, he'll come and see my performance. And came time for the performance and he didn't show up. And I could either take that personally and take that as a hurt, or I can go to him and say, "Hun, I think there was a miscommunication here. I kind of just assumed that you would show up." And he's like, "Well, you didn't tell me. I had no idea you wanted me to go." He said, "I actually assumed that if I went, it would make you more nervous."
Isn't that interesting? And maybe that would be the case for him. So he is projecting how he would feel. Or the time I came home and someone had hurt my feelings and I was venting and complaining about all of this to my husband. And he was super sweet to listen and hear me out and ask questions and really show up for me. And then when I was finished, he walked away. And I was super offended. I'm like, here I am in this vulnerable state. You're not even going to hug me. You're not going to I felt so rejected. I was actually reading Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And something I read in there, I called him up and I said, hey, when you walked away, did you do that because you thought I needed some space to deal with all of my emotions? He's like, well, yeah, of course. No, I didn't need space. I needed comfort and love. And
When in doubt, hug me.
yes, another situation where he's projecting what he would want. Yeah, I need him to put oil in the car, and he comes and changes all 4 tires and says, oh, you need new tires. And now I have 4 new tires and a new fan belt and air filter, but I still don't have oil in the car.
Totally.
And here he is. Or the other one is, I ask him for a scoop of chocolate ice cream, and he goes to the store and buys 20 scoops of ice cream, and none of them are chocolate. And then he comes home, and I'm like, how do I be grateful? This was a huge sacrifice for him to spend all this time and money to get me everything but what I want.
And do you think that takes so much control over our ego and humility?
And there's a feeling of being rejected and unseen that I really have to control.
Interesting.
I love something you said in our last recording. You said, I look at the effort instead of the result. And that's just stuck with me. I think it's so beautiful because that's so true. Are we there yet? Did you do it perfectly? No. And it might even have been less helpful than if you didn't do anything at all. But the effort means the world. It means the world because your effort says, I care. Your effort says, you matter to me. I care enough to change. I care enough to try.
What happens when someone doesn't acknowledge the effort is what you said. I start to feel unseen. I start to feel unheard. No, you're not even noticing me. I'm not on your radar because they can't see the effort.
Right. And a feeling of helplessness because, well, I tried this and I tried that and I bought you strawberry ice cream and I bought you vanilla ice cream and I bought you butter pecan ice cream. And what do you need, woman?
I've had my husband literally say that to me. Just be like, I don't know what else to do. I'm trying. And we just think so differently that I can't see where he's trying and he can't see where I'm appreciating. And we kind of can butt heads because of perspective differences.
And expectations.
And interpretations.
Yes, let me rephrase.
Okay.
Unvocalized expectations.
Even vocalized ones. I think sometimes I'm super direct and clear. And he's like, what? Seriously, I want you to go to my musical performance. I'm really nervous about this. Nothing. We're all stupid, right? All we know is what's in our head. So one of the most important things to do is to give your partner the benefit of the doubt. Benefit of the doubt. If you have a doubt and you're wondering, choose the good side of that doubt.
For example, can you give us an example?
Oh, I thought you were going to.
I know. The intonation of my voice as I was saying it, I realized, it sounds like I'm wanting to give an example.
Fine. It should be.
Perfect example.
We just gave you an example.
There you go. You noticed how I just explained what I meant? Beth's like, wait, I thought this is what you were saying. And I'm like, no, this is what I was saying and thinking. And she laughed and I laughed and it was all okay. Yeah. We had opposite perspectives. And yet because I feel safe with Beth, I'm not stammering and worried about how I phrase it. And wait, give me an hour to write this down and go through. Okay, because I know I can fumble my words even, and I'm safe with her. She won't get angry. She won't get upset. She won't doubt my motives.
Never.
So that gives someone the benefit of the doubt is
Mhm.
so huge.
And
Just assume
Mhm.
that their motives are pure and good.
Okay.
Even when they do something hurtful, that's obviously hurtful. You could assume that they just didn't see it or they just forgot.
My husband is so busy. I've never seen him this busy at work. I don't think right now he has even time to focus on that. Honestly, I think in his brain it's so full of so many details that it's okay. I think right now he needs to take instead of give.
Oh, that's a beautiful perception. What happens if I'm projecting here? What happens if that busyness at work lasts 25 years?
Well, that's a problem because there's not a balance. That's an imbalance. That's a sign of an imbalance. And your account's empty. If we're talking give and take, there's nothing in the
Yeah.
account.
Yeah, I do love the analogy to a bank account.
Mhm.
So often I will find myself resenting something that my husband does. You know, he has stupid little things that, like, oh, I should show you a picture. I took a picture the other day because it makes me laugh. My husband can only use one kind of deodorant because of allergies. So I buy them, you know, they come in the Amazon subscription 5 or 6 at a time. And I just need to hide them because on our bathroom counter are 6 different deodorants. All of a sudden, he doesn't go to the drawer or he doesn't get the one that's out on the counter. He goes to the drawer and pulls out another one. And then he pulls out another. So he has 6 or 7 of them all out,
All full.
all full. None of those are empty.
That's
And of course, that bugs me, right?
of course.
But one day I come in and it enrages me. And then I stop and say, why is this bugging me so much? When normally I just laugh about it. It's a harmless idiosyncrasy. Yeah, it takes me 40 whole seconds to clean that up, but it's relatively harmless. Why am I taking this so personally?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the answer is there's not enough money in the bank account. We just went into negative. And you guys all know, I think every human, every adult human on the planet knows how credit cards work, right? You just get further behind because there's an interest. And the same is true in relationships. If you're in the deficit, you're going to just get further behind. And you may make a small payment, but it's just not enough. There was a stupid movie, and I can never remember the name of it. I remember this one line, and it was the timid little abused woman. And finally, towards the end, she stands up to the bully of a husband, and she says, "I'm leaving." And he promises the world and does this big romantic dinner. And she just looks at him and says, "Why is it that men think our heads are going to be turned by one big effort? We don't want the, I mean, he probably
True.
dropped thousands of dollars on this one evening with violins and flowers and everything's perfect, right?" And she's like, that isn't what we want. It's the tiny little things that you haven't done for the past 10 years. It's too late.
Yes. Have you heard that question? In fact, I posted this on Facebook a few years back. Would you as a woman rather have 12 dozen roses or one rose for 12 days? Which would have more value to you?
The every day.
Yeah.
I'd rather have a daisy. But yes, the point is
But I when I got answers to that, there was definitely a difference in variety of answers.
okay.
Some women said, don't bother with flowers. I'd rather have
Yeah.
something else. Some people said, dozen roses, definitely. Has to be dozen roses. Some women said, one is fine. I tend to, when you were talking about one big action, okay? My husband's
Okay.
really good at the daily little actions and does never do the big ones. So I'm sitting here thinking, that's what I want. Is I want that one time, that one nice meal. I'm tired of all these little things, right?
Yeah.
So it's whatever we're deficit in.
Good point, because my husband's the opposite.
Yes, he is, isn't he? Very
Mhm.
much.
Oh, yeah.
I can see that. I can totally see that.
And they're cousins.
Yeah, right?
Not that that makes a difference. They could be twins and still be vastly different, but
And we're sisters.
yeah, and vastly different in some ways.
I think it's easy for someone who's a giver, and you and I are both very much givers,
Yeah.
to judge takers. We tend to look at takers and think that's so selfish, or you're taking from me. We feel like we're getting diminished by somebody who takes too much. And if you reframe that, sometimes that's true. Let's be honest, sometimes that's very true.
I will tell you, my entire life changed when I reframed it and got a different perspective
Yeah.
and realized you said yes.
You who?
People,
Yourself?
me. I'm like, hey, George. I still call
That's what you
myself
call
that.
yourself.
Only when I do something stupid.
George.
Hey, George,
George.
that's our maiden name. Hey, George, you said yes. Do you resent that? Do you resent someone asking? No, but you said yes, and you resent having to do it.
Mhm.
Why didn't you just say no? But through a period of, oh, I don't want to give to anybody. And I see
Mhm.
people in that phase of their progression. Well, oh, no one should ask me for anything, and just anger that they're even asked. And I think that eventually they'll learn, it'll come full circle that, hey, it's okay for people to ask, and it's okay for you to say no. If you don't feel it's okay to say no, then you resent the asking.
And if you say yes, you can do it without resentment if
Yes,
you're aware of it.
yes. And I have said yes when I should have said no.
Mhm. And
And
it's
then
still
I start,
hard.
yes. And then I start falling into that resentment. And then I have to correct myself and say, you know better. You should have said no.
And you take accountability for that.
Yes, but you said yes. So now you have a choice. You can either call this person and say, you know what, I said yes, but I just don't have the capacity or time or effort to do this for you. I said yes because I love you and I want to
Mhm.
give,
Mhm.
but I just can't.
Yeah.
Or you can go ahead and have some sleepless nights and get it done. If you choose that option, it's your choice and you can't resent the other person. So that is a danger in being a giver, is that resentment. Also, another danger in being a giver is that you define yourself by how much you can give. It's one of those huge fears that I'm only valuable if I can do something for somebody else.
Mhm.
I want to share. This was such a beautiful experience for me. I won't go into details, but I was with this elderly woman and talking with her, and she had just had a stroke. And she went from being competent and
Mm.
helpful and serving everybody else to, I have to live with my daughter and I can't contribute. I can't cook. I can't clean. She has to, I was there uh, being with her mother because her mother couldn't be left alone and she had to get some work done. Okay. So even she can't leave the house without getting a babysitter, so to speak. And this poor woman was feeling so worthless.
Mm.
Worthless. She felt worthless.
I can't say I blame her. We're so conditioned.
We are. And I turned to her and I said, you have no idea what you do for your daughter. I know your daughter. And I know she is better when you're in her home. Just your presence,
Mm.
just you meeting her has made all the difference for her in her life. I don't know if she saw that, but I have never forgotten that, because here is a woman who physically can do nothing, can contribute nothing, and to see the beautiful effects she had on her daughter, the emotional stability, the happiness, the it was incredible.
Wow.
Even if she didn't have that, she's still a beautiful person. She still has a lifetime of memories and lessons and insights and joy and tears, and she has so much to offer, so much to give.
Okay, so let's talk about being a taker.
Okay.
Why would somebody be a taker?
They are focusing on the what can I get?
Hmm.
What can I receive? Right. But often it's out of a need, to fill a need that, oh, if this person cares enough about me to give and give and give and give and give, then that proves my value.
Also, they're really uncomfortable with being vulnerable and open and admitting their own weakness. They have to be strong. And if they admit that they have to give back, or if they admit that there's a deficit, they have to admit there's a deficit in the first place.
And if they're not emotionally secure enough to do that,
That vulnerability is hard. I think, especially, I don't want to categorize, but with males, sometimes it's I have to be strong, I have to be the provider, I have to not have needs, I have
I
to
can fix
protect.
everything.
Hmm. And so
Yeah.
they don't mean to take all the time. Their desire is to provide. Their desire is to be strong.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't
And
always
the,
work out that way. It comes across
yeah.
as not needing or taking.
Yeah. Or they spend the whole day giving, 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 and they come home and their safe
Mhm.
relationship is like, oh, finally, I don't have to give. And that's a toxic trap to fall into. Here's your wife or your partner, and you don't want to give to them because you're all given out. There's danger in that too.
Well, and when you think you have to be strong all the time and you can't accept weakness, then every time you do have a weakness, it feels like you're a burden.
Mhm.
And you feel like you have to apologize to everyone around you because you're a burden to them. You're dragging them down because you're asking something of them. And that's just
And
not a healthy way to think. It's not healthy.
no,
When you feel like a burden, that is a number one signal that you're not thinking correctly. I can't say
or
it
if you
enough.
feel resentment like somebody else is a burden on you,
Hmm.
that is a red flag. But that give and take balance is off.
Or at least not acknowledged because it
Yeah.
may be off. It may be that they are taking too much, but just
But
have to see it clearly. You have to acknowledge it.
yeah, and sometimes even just a thank you and the gratitude is enough. So I had an interesting, uh, we'll have to check with my daughters before we post this. This was such a beautiful thing to me. So I have one daughter who's just her love language is acts of service. In no, let me rephrase. How she shows her love is through acts of service. And I started noticing that there was this dynamic where Kaylee just waits on Rachel. She will give me a drink and, oh, go get me this. And
Hmm.
that kind of started to bother me as a mother, right? So for obvious reasons. So I talked to Rachel about it. And I'm like, do you think maybe you're kind of taking advantage of Kaylee a little bit?
Hmm.
And what she said was so beautiful. She said, Mom, I get that Kaylee shows me love by doing something for me.
Hmm.
And she said, sometimes I just need to feel loved by her.
That's sweet.
it's very easy to look at someone who's taking and think they're selfish.
Mm-hmm.
But Rachel wasn't doing that out of selfishness. And she pointed out the other dynamic that Kaylee likes to give.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's healthy for others to give. If nobody takes, there is no giving.
Yeah. And it certainly wasn't a one-sided thing. Rachel will also give too. Even though for a while there, Rachel was taking more than she was giving, it was for very beautiful motives.
I love that saying. I finally found my rhythm when I realized that even the steps backwards were part of the dance.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that.
And I love it because that is how I picture give and take. Is I take a step forward and then I take a step back. And then so you can take a step forward. And then you take a step back so that I can take a step forward. And pretty soon we're dancing together. And part of having a long-term relationship. Now, if you're in a short-term relationship, you can give and take for differing amounts, right? Because it's short-term.
Yeah, you can do anything for 3 months, right?
Mm-hmm. But in a long-term relationship, it's completely different.
Yeah.
The cost is different. The rewards are different. And so the give and take is going to be different. And that's super important to understand that the time around that relationship can affect the give and take.
So a couple cautions with all this that we're talking about is if you feel resentment or spouse or partner, the other person in the relationship is feeling that, those are indicators that the balance is off. But also keep in mind that you will have seasons of your life when you take more and give more. But just really be honest about that, because you can damage a relationship if you take too much.
And if you give too much.
And if you give too much.
When we talk about abuse, to me, an abusive relationship is someone that makes you feel guilty or bad or wrong for having needs. Watch for that too. Watch for someone who wants to make you feel like a burden. That's not give and take. That's
Right.
abuse.
Yes, there's a difference between you saying, okay, I give and give and give, and I want to take some. I need something in return. And your spouse says, oh man, I love you. I respect you. This is a valid request, and I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
Either I don't have the mental health, or I don't have the time, or whatever reason. That's very different than saying, well, I don't know why you need that. You're just being emotional.
Very
To me,
good point.
that's what you're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between abuse and just plain an imbalance in your give and take.
Right. One thing I've learned about myself is that I'm really good at giving in some areas and then I take in others. And that's really true of almost all of us. If you can look at the areas that you're good at giving in, but if you don't see the areas that you take in, then you're being misled. You're leading yourself.
Yeah. And other people recently brought to my attention that my husband, he sat down and told me all these things he was grateful for. And I just had to chuckle out loud because all of them were accomplishments. And that's not what I see at all.
Wasn't what you valued even?
No, that's what he was valuing in what I was doing for him. And then when I reciprocated with expressions of gratitude to him, it was for emotional support. So see how we value different things. And so your spouse may be really good in one area and you're feeling deficit in the other area. But if you don't acknowledge the area that he's giving or she's giving, then you're going to harm the relationship.
I want to talk about how to create a relationship where you feel safe enough to talk about this. That's a good relationship. A relationship where you say, hey, this is not in balance. What can we do? Or what can I do to own my side of it? Or so there are things you can do to cultivate a good balance.
What I would say is the first step is to make sure your motives are pure,
I love that.
that you're approaching in love, that you've let go of any resentment or anger.
Take accountability for your emotions.
Yes. If you can't be in victim mentality, because then you're just rehearsing in your brain why it's all his fault,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why it's all the other person's fault. So beware of that.
That's
So
not
you've got
a
to,
healing path for sure.
yes, you've got to be in a good place yourself. So do your own work, whatever that looks like. Some people can do that in just okay, 10 seconds, reset, done. Others, it'll take 5 years of therapy, right?
Depends. Yep, for sure. But we're all different at different times.
Yes, and in different areas. So get yourself in the right place. But sometimes you just have to have that conversation today.
And
And
over
it's
and over and over and over and over.
yeah, and it's okay to say, hey, I'm not where I want to be for this conversation. So I might do it badly. Can you give me some latitude?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know you care about me. I know you care about my physical and emotional and mental health. I'm exhausted here. I need to ask for help, and I may do it badly.
I'm going to need lots of tries and lots of practice. And a lot of
Yeah.
it just comes from working on it, messing up over and over, and
Yeah.
forgiving your spouse over and over, and forgiving yourself over and over. So I would say one of the most important qualities is empathy in this area.
And compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Compassion for yourself and compassion for your spouse or the other person in the relationship, even if it's a parent-child relationship.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And actually, I really wanted to kind of go into what it looks like with a parent-child, but we are running out of time. We might have to do that another episode. But the empathy itself will help you feel safer. It will help your partner feel safer.
Yeah.
Because they know that they're human, they're going to mess it up. And if you have empathy and forgiveness, then they're going to be like, okay, it's safe to make a mistake. It's safe to try. It's safe to say, I'm sorry. It's safe to be angry. Safety, build safety. And there are small intentional acts that you can do to build that.
If you don't feel safe to have this conversation, don't just not have it. Find a safe place. And a good counselor or therapist is a great place to feel safe.
And that is what we do. That's why I love what I do, because I create that safety for people. And it doesn't even matter the words that they say if they feel safe saying them. So what are some ongoing, daily, habitual acts of kindness that your partner would receive that would make them feel safe?
That's a good question to ask your partner.
Although we do have a lot we're going to teach you about needs in other episodes, and we can talk about meeting someone's needs and meeting your own needs. There's a lot to that. But
and how to figure out what they are.
Huge. So we have more tools, lots and lots and lots. Yeah. But just ask yourself, what intentional, loving way can I give and receive both?
One of the best things I ever did was ask my spouse, what do you do to show love for me?
Get some feedback.
Because I'm in a place where I'm missing it. I'm not seeing it. And that's not on you. That's on me. I'm wondering if you could help me see it. Mm-hmm. So I took accountability because I was in a place of total judgment and I wasn't seeing it. And there were things. And I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. I know you did that, but I didn't realize that was you showing love for me. It really helped.
I would love to hear your experiences. I would love to hear your knowledge of what you have learned. Yeah. The longer you're in a relationships or different relationships or in one relationships, the more relationships you experience, the more knowledge you get in this. And I'm curious. I want to know what you guys have learned about this in your relationships.
The give and take.
Mm-hmm.
and about yourself in a relationship.
Yeah. More importantly.
Yeah. How much do you want to give? How much do you need to take?
Are you more comfortable with a higher, lower deficit?
Yeah.
What kind of
Amen.
relationship are you comfortable in?
And going into a relationship, I think it's very important to have it on the table and to be transparent and say, hey, this is my level of giving. And this is my expectation for what I need to get from you. A lot of it is just talking these things out and saying, hey, I thought you'd bring me a rose every day. That's the expectation. And then he can either say, I didn't realize that was an expectation. I'm happy to do that for you.
Oh, whatever. It's
So,
usually you need to change that expectation.
yeah, sounds like a really easy way to help you feel loved. Or he can say, I'm thinking that's a little unrealistic with our budget or the amount of time I have. I can't stop at a florist's every day, but I still care about you. I want to help you feel loved. Can we tweak it a little bit? Can we brainstorm on how to fulfill this need? I care about your need. I care about you because we have a lot of emotions behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of buildup because we haven't communicated.
Yes. So you have years of emotion and sometimes even that can be traumatic. It's like an 18-wheeler trying to stop on a downslope, right? An 18% grade is really hard. It
If
can
there's
be
an area
difficult.
need healing in order to give and take, if the imbalance is off and you need
Okay.
healing, acknowledge that and go get help. You just need healing. Okay, then that balance can change.
Healing and repair work. It can happen. I've seen relationships that were just on the brink of, filing for divorce and to come back from that and find beauty and love and happiness again
From despair to thriving, it's
with,
possible.
with just one conversation.
I do want to make one more point, and that is
Okay.
what happens when this is imbalanced
Mm-hmm.
is it creates a fear because we don't feel safe. So then fear pops up a lot in your relationship because there's no safety. And then when you have all this fear, you react fight or flight or hide or freeze.
And then he senses that. And so he reacts to that reaction.
And then, yeah, it's out of control before you know it.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens is you start to feel controlled instead of freedom. And just that dynamic of, am I in a controlled relationship or do I have choices, will lead to how you see authority, other people in your life. It affects whether Gina can tell me what to do or not because I'm too tired to handle Gina telling me what to do.
You're,
I
you're
mean,
so, you're controlled out. You've had
mhm,
it up to here with someone telling you what to do.
exactly. And your response to people who are trying to control you might be in an unhealthy way because it's not balanced.
Because you've tried other things
Mhm.
and they don't work. And so then you go ballistic and start screaming. You've got your shield up and it keeps out so many good things: connection, accountability, grace, tolerance, love,
And if
happiness, joy, laughter. It keeps all of that away. Once you get that defensive shield up, it's toxic. You can't have a relationship with that shield up, with that defensive. And when you're defensive, you do the opposite of giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Now you think all their motives are, you villainized them. You've got to bring that shield down. You've got to. The relationship won't survive.
so, we do have a questionnaire that can help you that we're going to provide for free. Just click the link. And in the questionnaire, the hope is that you'll just gain awareness.
Yeah.
We can help you with our program. There's others, many others that are trained out there that can help you. We just want you to have clarity.
Relationships can be so beautiful where they buoy you up and support you, and you have someone in your corner.
It doesn't always feel that way, does it?
No, but if you don't have that, if you don't have this healthy dynamic, without that cheerleader, how do you work on your own stuff? Instead, you're spending all of your time just working on the relationship. If you find yourself in that crazy dynamic, actually put aside the relationship stuff and work on yourself.
And I would add focus on fun in the relationship while you're focusing on yourself.
Yeah.
Just because then it'll bring some of that those darker moments will be lighter, won't feel as
Yes.
heavy.
Every step you take towards your own healing, you also step towards healing the relationship without even noticing it, without even intending that.
My son and I have this joke that we do when we get together, and
Mhm.
we're like, okay, who can push each other's buttons more? And it's kind of become it's kind of become hilarious. Like the other day, I was eating pretzels while we were driving, and he handed me a pretzel, and he had taken all the salt off of it, and he was testing me to see if I would notice how long it would take me to see if I noticed. And I picked it up, and I literally threw it without saying anything out the window. I'm like, it didn't have any salt. Did you take the salt off that? And he was laughing. Like, I knew you wouldn't like it if I took the salt off of that. And it's really become kind of fun to explore each other's buttons. It's kind of a joke, right? But in a way, it's been healthy
Yeah.
to make it
Well,
fun.
wait, you threw it out the window? You didn't throw it at him?
Yeah, no, I shouldn't. No, it was cute. I thought it was very creative.
Reminds me of when our kids were little, they would lick the Dorito and
Bro,
lick all the seasoning off of it and then give it to Gary, thinking he wouldn't notice. And he would play along and pretend not to notice. I don't know how many soggy, nasty Doritos he ate.
and this is the joys of life. Your long-term relationships, sustain them with hope and with empathy and communication.
And clarity. You have power and strength in just being able to recognize where you're at in this give and take. And you might have some hard conversations ahead of you.
And
That's
years
okay.
ahead of you to work it
Yeah,
out. I still do.
yeah, and that's okay.
Mhm.
It's part of the beauty, and I see my husband trying, and I'm just so grateful for the effort.
Acknowledge the effort, people, please. Please just say thank you for trying. Thanks for being here today. Good luck, everybody.